Dc52, the richest man of all. Soul-touching and life-enhancing stories. The richest man of all. King Kopal was a good man. He was especially known for his wealth in every corner of the planet. Just like every other person in the world, King Kopal had his good side and his lesser good side. We could call his lesser good side that he was overly proud with being the wealthiest man on earth. Once a year he organized a party, which went on for 1 week, and at the last day, the name of the day had gotten the name Treasure Day. During that week, the place and the palace changed into a big wild party site, where most people got drunk, overate, and did not behave themselves in proper ways. Overindulgence or gluttony would be the proper word to use here. The Treasure Day started in the morning in the big palace room, where all the special invited guests were gathered to compete with King Kopal. Compete? Yes, compete. King Kopal competed with the invited guests to find out who would be the richest man of all. Rulers, kings, princesses, princes, khans, pharaohs, and very wealthy people were invited to come and display their treasures. And the one who could prove to be richer than King Kopal would receive half of King Kopal's wealth. Treasure Day was going on for years, but up till now King Kopal had never lost and had become convinced he was and would stay the richest man of all. His wife, Queen Kashmir, loved her husband, but couldn't stand his attitude and these wild parties. Because her husband really thought he was the richest man on earth, his pride kept growing and growing, and she did not know what to do with the situations. From the garden servants she had heard of a weaver, who seemingly was a holy man and had helped many people with their problems. In secret, she went to visit this man, whose name was Fodaro. He lived in a very simple hut where he weaved, lived in a simple life, and was a very wise man. The queen was immediately attracted to Fodaro, especially his eyes, which were mirrors of honesty. After the queen explained to Fodaro what was happening every year at the palace, she expressed that it was very hard for her to deal with her husband and his attitude in thinking that he was the richest man of all. "How can he think that he is the richest man of all?" spoke Fodaro. "He came without anything, and one day he will go without anything. Everything in life is just momentarily borrowed, for it is the Creator who is the owner of everything in existence." "We are all children," Fodaro continued, "of the richest man in existence, which is the Creator, our Father, and we are just on an adventure to experience life in creation. Real richness lays more in the understanding and respect for the Creator. Our true home is not the creation, but in the everlasting realm of the Creator." Queen Kashmir listened to all these wise words and said to Fodaro, "How can this possibly help me in the situation with my husband?" "I cannot help your husband, for he is not the one who came to me. The only thing that I hope for you is that your visit to me has helped you. You have to accept your husband as he is and forgive him for his shortcomings. For all of us have many shortcomings." After some tea and some more enlightening words from Fodaro, the queen returned to the palace. In the coming days her mind kept dwelling on what to do with the situation, although she knew she had to accept it. Then suddenly she came up with a great idea, and she sent out one of her servants with an invitation for Fodaro to come and visit her on a particular day. Although she didn't tell Fodaro so, the queen knew that that day was Treasure Day. Weeks before this special day, one after the other, groups of people were arriving. From India they came on elephants, from Arabia on horses, and from Africa on camels. The richest men and women from all over the globe had come with all their treasures, and they came with many soldiers to protect their wealth. They all built up their tents around the palace, and it looked quite beautiful to see all these riches and the beautiful dressed kings and khans and pharaohs and queens and rulers who were walking about. The week of partying was filled with lots of eating and drinking, music and dance. On Treasure Day morning, all the invited guests gathered in the big palace room, where King Copal, accompanied by the Queen, was sitting on his throne. Next to the richest people in the world who had come to compete with King Copal, there were also many invited wealthy spectators from King Copal's kingdom who had come to see who would lose against their king. After the sound of trumpets, King Copal rose from his throne and said, "Welcome, welcome, friends from all over the world. I'm honored to see you all on this special day. We are here today to see who is the richest man of all, and up till now it has been proven that I am the one. However, the person who can show me that he or she is richer will receive half of my wealth." The people started clapping hands, and then the king continued, "And now let the first man or woman who believes who is richer than me step forward and prove your wealth." It became very silent, because everybody was waiting for the others to step forward. And then a soft and warm voice answered, "I am told not to lie, and I have to answer your question." "Come forward," said the king. Slowly an old man came forward. Yes, it was the weaver, the holy man, who had responded to the queen's invitation. Everybody started to laugh when they saw the old man dressed in ordinary clothes. "Are you more rich than me, old man?" asked the king. "Yes," the soft warm voice replied. "My father told me that he is the richest man in existence, and that his inheritance is mine. I am as rich as the richest man in existence," spoke Fodaro. The king smiled and said, "And I have to believe this?" "No," answered the old man straight away. "Come with me and talk to him. Come with me and convince yourself." "I do not have to convince myself," said the king. "I can see enough. Your poor old clothes show it." And all the people started to laugh again. "Guards," called King Copal, "bring my treasures." What happened made everybody stop laughing and talking. Enormous, valuable carpets were spread out on the floor on the ground in front of the old man. Then, with the sound of chimes and trumpets, golden cases filled with the most precious stones were carried inside the room. All these precious wonders were put on the carpets. Emeralds, rubies, diamonds, opals, jade. Their reflection was too bright for one's eyes. And then still more treasures were brought into the room, gold and silver objects. Everybody was shocked to see so much wealth, and most of the guests felt relieved that they did not challenge King Copal, as it was almost impossible to have more wealth than him. "And," spoke King Copal, "this is only 1/3 of my wealth, my friends. Old man, do you still have something to say?" "I know what you have, King Copal, but you still don't know what I have. You do have a lot of treasures, but my father could take these treasures away from you in 1 second, if he wanted to," said the old man. King Copal was getting a little bit upset, especially because this man spoke with such a convincing voice. "You mean your father has a strong army? He could conquer me?" replied King Copal. "No," said the old man. "My father could take your life, and you would not have any wealth anymore. What is it to be rich when you are not able to take these treasures with you when you die?" The queen, who was sitting next to the king, could hardly hide her laugh. "So your father is a magician?" the king asked. No, answered Fodaro. He is the king of everything. He is the owner of the creation. He is the one who created all that exists. He is the creator and the one who allows life in creation to continue. The old man continued, my real wealth even surpasses the external riches and is invisible to your eyes. That's a joke, responding the king. How can I believe what I cannot see? And I think you're teasing me. I would not dare to tease you, King Copal, the old man answered, and continued speaking. How many new things do people discover every day? Every day they tell you about new things, which you never knew existed yesterday. You have wise people around you who give you answers and solutions on matters you didn't know or understood yesterday. So there is more in the world than we can see. There is more than we believe, isn't so? You cannot just say, what I do not see or know doesn't exist. The king didn't know what to say and didn't have the strength to say something rude. Inside of him, something kept him from becoming angry as he watched this man with these honest eyes, the soft and warm voice, who wouldn't harm a fly. Then the king started the discussion again. Okay, maybe this is all true, but now show me your wealth, your treasures. The old man answered, the treasure is inside of me. It is the kingdom of my father where all treasures come from. From this kingdom all power, love and wisdom comes, and these are the real treasures, for they are everlasting. King Copal, all your treasures, all your jewels, your gold, your palaces and even your own body, you will have to leave them all behind one day. At that very moment, all diamonds and emeralds and rubies and all the other precious stones laying on the carpet started to rearrange their positions. All the reflections of jewels started to shine in one direction, in the direction of the ceiling. These jewels' reflections created a beautiful rainbow with an enormous round crystal ball underneath. Everybody was watching the scene. Now in the crystal ball their King Copal appeared. He was lying in his coffin. He was dead. And his hands were hanging outside the coffin. His hands were empty, showing that he had not been able to take anything with him. The reflection of all the jewels slowly became more intense and became so bright that everybody had to close their eyes, except for King Copal, the old wise man, and Queen Kashmir. Then, for only one moment, King Copal was allowed to see the beauty of the kingdom of all love, its power and wisdom. Without knowing exactly why, King Copal started to cry, but it was not tears of sadness, they were tears of joy. As they kept on looking at the crystal ball, it slowly faded away, and sweet music entered the throne chamber. Everybody looked around but couldn't discover the source of the music, and then slowly the music disappeared. Then suddenly things had become normal again. Nobody could understand what had happened, but everybody was impressed. People started talking to one another that you could hear that some people spoke about this old man being a musician, a fakir and a sorcerer. Then King Copal spoke. Old man, I am beginning to understand that you are a very wise man. I am convinced that you have a treasure within you worth more than everything together on this planet. Take all my possessions, my kingdom, for you are the winner of the treasure day. But I would want to see more than what I have seen just now. Nobody understood what King Copal was talking about and thought the king was losing his mind. King Copal stood up and said, Dear guests, this is the end of the treasure day, which will never be held anymore. Go home to your countries and hopefully this was also a lesson for all of you. Slowly all the guests walked out of the throne chamber, most of them disappointed, others turning their eyes and talking about how the king had lost it. 3 people were left in the room, and King Copal had taken a seat on the steps leading up to his throne. He gestured to the old man to come and sit next to him. "Wise man," he said, "I do not want to be king anymore. I will leave this kingdom. I will leave my wife and I will follow you." "This is not necessary," King Copal replied the old man. "Remain as king. You have a responsibility towards your people. You have to protect them, and they need your advice. You do not need to leave your wife behind. Come, together with your wife, when there is time, and visit me, because the treasure you have seen today is not only inside of me. This kingdom is within everybody, and I am willing to assist you to find it." King Copal took the hand of his wife, and tears of happiness came into his eyes. Then the old and wise man introduced himself as Fodaro and said to the king, "Whenever you have time, just visit me. Your wife knows where I live." As the queen started to explain to him how Fodaro got invited, Fodaro walked slowly out of the room. When Fodaro got outside, he shook his head, watching a wild party going on. Seemingly nobody understood what had happened. These people were just busy again with the momentary pleasures of the world. But he knew that inside the palace he had left behind the 2 happiest persons in the world, who he would be guiding to the kingdom of everlasting life. What the story could bring us. In the world of man, we determine the riches of a man according to his possessions, money, power, and those who do have these riches we call poor. Those who think they are poor or rich are both poor, for they don't realize that we all come from one Father, who is the owner and creator of the entire creation. On this level of thinking, we are the children of the richest Father in existence. We are all richer than all the wealth in the man-created world. It is a wealth which goes far beyond.